possibilities for movement and advancement, physical psychology and counterattack. Perfect practice, execution without hesitation, dancing the pieces of the battle without armor. The heart rattles, the mind strives, constantly developing a plan with sporadic life.
What's up, everybody? I am Zipaktli, the illAgator from the Three-Headed Puma, and I am here with Coach Claudia from the Warriors Jiu-Jitsu program in East LA. And today we're going to learn some self-defense techniques. Coach, could you explain a little bit what we're going to learn?
Yeah, so Sister Zipaktli had a run-in with some creepy shit, some things that we've been seeing way too often in our communities. It's nothing new, shit that women have always had to deal with. The reason why we don't feel safe on our own streets, the reason why sometimes we don't even feel safe in our own homes. So today we're just going to look over some escape tactics for abduction situations. So we'll be looking at some wrist releases, having good base, having the ability to take off running from any of these situations. That's what we're really setting ourselves up for. We want to be able to escape, survive. So we'll be looking at some wrist releases, some bear hug releases, some hair pulling releases and escapes, and yeah.
Cool. And all without weapons, right?
Yeah, today we're not going to be looking at weapons. That's a whole other game. Deals with a whole other, just.
Cool, for next episode. All right, cool. Let's do this.
All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is just have good base. I mean, you've seen this before, so from a standing position, right, going into a base position where your feet are about shoulder width apart, you have a little bit of bend in the knee, and you have a good posture. So you should feel sturdy here, you should feel balanced, you should feel grounded. So, right, so if you're just kind of standing chill, and then if I were to give you a push, you're gonna move, right? But if you're in your base and I try to give you a push, the chances of you moving are less. So having a good base is just kind of like the foundation for everything else we're gonna look at. So just going from a standing position to base right away. And then we always wanna get our hands up, right? It should be second nature to have hands up. They don't need to be like fighting position right now, right? We're not looking to like engage in a fight, we're looking to escape. So hands up, open palms are always like a surrendering type of like motion, right? They give off the impression that I'm not trying to fight, I don't want no problems, like hey, like leave me alone type of thing, right? So hands up, but you want them up close to your face, ready to defend, but also ready to engage if we have to. So just perfect. Yeah. Alright, cool. Yeah, so just going from standing to good base. Yeah, that's it, right? That's the first step is having a good base. And then right there, you want to avoid like leaning forward too much or having your feet too wide apart, right? So just about shoulder width is fine. You could have one in front of the other if you're used to kind of like boxing stance or whatever. Like that's cool too, right? That's a good base. And we're ready to move from here, right? I'm always like kind of like I have that bend in my knee, that bounce, right? Because I'm ready to take off at any moment, right? Or strike at any moment, kick, whatever it is I need to do. So that's it. That's the first one, just base. From there, we're gonna look at push-pull battle. So, if you wanna turn around this way. Give it back. So the first thing is push-pull battle from base. So once, we looked at that already. Anytime anyone is trying to push or pull you somewhere you don't want to go, right, it's important to have this kind of like concept behind you. So if I'm trying to push you, right, if you don't do anything, right, you're going to go. So anytime you're being pushed, you're going to, in your base, drop your weight to the hip in the opposite direction you're being pulled. So you're going to counter whatever energy I'm giving, right? So I'm trying to take you that way, you're going to counter, coming back at me, putting all your weight on that hip. And so you'll see that this knee, this leg now bends a little more, and this one kind of locks out because I'm dropping all my weight onto this hip, really sinking down to the ground. And I'm going to create kind of like a shield here with my shoulder and my hand, so that as I'm trying to push you, right, you're going to come, bring that close to your body, and then come back at me. So this hip is going to sink nice and low, and then the other one kind of locks out as a kind of like as a post. Okay. Right. So now, yeah. See, it's gonna be a lot harder to push you than, let's say, if you were just standing. Now I push you just standing, right? You're gonna go. So that's it, right? You're chilling, you're at the bar, whatever it is, right? Or talking to your friend outside by your car. Someone tries to push you into a van. You're already there with a good base, ready to at least hold your ground in that moment, right? A big part of self-defense is like the psychology of the self-defense. So being aware, just like you were, right? Knowing, hey, that van is fucking shady. They already circled around once, or what? Their windows are fucking blacked out. Whatever it might be, that kind of like got those little
the red flags.
The red flags, right? The chills, the whatever it was. Paying attention to that is like the number one thing important thing that you can do. So if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. So you did awesome at paying attention to that and be like, get the fuck out of here, right? And sure enough, they try to block you in. Something, they had something on their mind. So so being aware of your surroundings, right? Knowing that, hey, I'm in a dark area where there's not a lot of people around. Where's the nearest person that could hear me if I were need to scream and be heard, right? Like all of those little things, like kind of just being aware of where you're at, what's around you, super important. With these push-pull battles, we would simultaneously be yelling for help, right? I call it the escándalo method.
Right.
So you want to create an escándalo, right? You want to yell at the top of your lungs, whether it's help, whether it's fire, whether it's like leave me alone, whatever you're screaming, but you're trying to get that attention so that the chismosos on the block pop their head out. Now they have their phone in their hand. Now the perpetrator's like, oh shit, is it worth it? Probably not. I'm gonna bounce, right? So at the same time that we're like doing all these, holding our ground, at the same time we'd be yelling for help. Okay. So, and then, so let's say we're facing each other, right? And I'm trying to push you here. In order to hold your ground, you have to turn and get perpendicular to me. So you're facing me this way, you're gonna base up this way to be able to push, right? Because when we're squared off, you have nothing to base off behind you, so you're gonna go, right? So yes, once you turn, now it's a lot harder to take you. Okay, so that's it. Let's just practice that a couple of times and say, my creepy van is back there. We're out in the dark street, right? And you're just standing just like we are here, talking to a friend. Someone comes from around the corner, tries to push you to the van, right? Good. At the same time, you'd be screaming for help.
Okay.
A couple of things. We want to avoid leaning forward, because then that gets us off balance. Right? Wherever our head goes, our body goes. So if our head starts to go down this way, our body wants to follow. So just keeping that posture, head back, shoulders up, right here. And if I'm pushing with my head driving into you versus into the ground.
Got it.
So the weight sinks down, and then I drive forward. Yeah. So I was like, come and give me a push. Yes. There you go. Much stronger. Good. That's it. That's push. Pull is the same concept, just in the opposite direction, right? Now I'm trying to take you this way. You're gonna face out, perpendicular to me, right? And then now your weight's gonna sink to that hip. This one locks out. Yeah. And then you keep your good posture, right? You don't want to lean forward because that's when we start to fall over. And then right, that's it. This one right there, lean that way to the hip. Yeah, see, there you go. That's it. That's the push-pull battle. So just knowing those little things, just knowing to base, knowing to turn, and to like sink your weight down, already makes a huge difference when someone's trying to move you and you ain't trying to go. So that in itself, you know, it's already a big, big advantage just knowing that. I'm gonna just kind of hold it down right here while I scream, right? If I have a knife in my pocket, now I'm getting my knife out. If I have my pepper spray, I should have it handy, right? Like where I know where it's at, I can grab it. Or if I need to run, I'm gonna try to run. If I can't run and I need to engage, now I'm gonna engage. But kind of like that initial reaction is kind of like first impressions, right? That initial reaction is gonna let the perpetrator know this is not the one to fuck with. Like it's too much trouble, right? I see people start, nah, right? Next one, right? So that's push-pull battle. When we're looking at the pull with the wrist releases, right? Even if you hold your ground, right? We're still connected here. I'm still holding on to you. So the wrist release, if you grab my wrist, so the camera can see.
Like this?
So you're pulling me right base. I'm not going anywhere. I have good base. I have my stance here, but I still gotta deal with this situation here. So to get my hand back, I'm going to use a Gracie jiu-jitsu technique, wrist release, and it feels a little counterintuitive because it's relying on leverage and not strength. So I'm not pulling away, right? I'm not using strength to try to pull my hand out. I'm using leverage to pop my wrist out of that spot. So with wrist releases, right, there's always going to be that weak spot where the thumb and the fingers meet. That opening is the weak. That's the weak point. That's the exit. Yeah, that's the exit for any of these wrist releases. So because it's right there, right, I'm gonna go in that direction. Okay. So I'm gonna make a fist, make my hand nice and sturdy, and I'm gonna lead with my elbow. My elbow's gonna go towards your hip. So my elbow goes towards your hip as I pull my wrist towards my shoulder. That's it. So it's counterintuitive in the sense that you're moving forward, but that's where the leverage comes from, right? Pushing into it so that it pops right out of there.
Can we do that a little bit closer?
Yeah.
Or like maybe put our wrist right here.
So as we were talking about, the exit point for this wrist grab is going to be right there where the thumb and the fingers meet, right? That's the natural weak point, so that's going to be my exit. So
say I'm pulling.
So as you're pulling, right, I'm going to lead with my elbow. My elbow goes in, and slow motion, you start to see that wrist pop out. It's really hard for the person to hold on as strong as they are. The fingers are still weak at that point, right? So I lead with my elbow. You can see the elbow starts to go down and that wrist pops up. At the same time, right, like I get a lot of questions like, oh, well, what if they're like really strong? What if like 200 pounds and 6 feet tall, this and that, right? This is where we start looking at like strikes, right? I'm not just trying to pull my wrist out. I'm striking your face as I'm getting my wrist out. I'm kicking your groin as I'm getting. So we're using strikes as a distraction to get the hell out of there and run. So this is where we would pair it, right? I'm not just gonna be like, if you're really, really strong and I'm struggling, then bam, bam, right, bam, and then get that wrist out of there. So that's the wrist release. Base out. Make sure that I have a good base first, right? Because I'm not going to be able to release my wrist if I don't have a good base. Okay. Again, that base is the foundation for everything. So if I'm here and you're pulling me, I'm moving, right? So I can't pull out if I'm moving forward at the same time. So I got to make sure that I'm not going anywhere. I have my stance, and then I can go ahead with my wrist release. I can follow wrist releases, slaps, right? I can elbows. Get out of there. You don't have to, right? If you feel that release and you just want to book it, we can just book it. The advantage of striking following the release is that you stuck them for a couple seconds, for just that second to get that head start on the run. So as I release, right, I can come back here, release, come back here with the kick, and then take off running. So that you get that couple seconds reaction before if they're gonna chase, before they start chasing. And then it's just
you just gotta book it, right?
Just gotta book it.
Run.
Screaming the whole time through, right? So the minute you grab me, I'm already yelling for help. I'm yelling at the same time that I'm doing all of this, so that we're getting that reaction from any surrounding people. Now, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, then that's a different story. But you gotta really, yes.
If I do want to mention something real quick, I have heard that if you're screaming for help, or that if you need help, you should yell fire, because if you're screaming for help, people might know that it's a sticky situation and may not even want to look out the window because they don't want to get themselves involved. But if you yell fire, they're gonna be like, oh, where's the fire?
Right. Yeah, there's studies have been done around that, and it shows that people are more likely to come out in the case of a fire because they feel like, as humans, they have more control over something like that. It's less likely to harm their person getting involved in the fire situation, rather than if it's like a domestic dispute or a physical altercation, where now if they step into that, now their own person is kind of like at risk, right? Because now they're intervening in a physical altercation versus something like a fire.
Right.
But fire is good.
Cool.
Alright, so just have you try it then.
Alright,
So I'm gonna pull, first thing, base. Remember to get perpendicular.
Base.
And
then I lock here.
yes, because I'm pulling this way, right? So you want to make sure that you lock your weight in that way.
And this
There
way?
you go.
And this is where I push?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're pulling, I push, and then up.
That's it. It should feel, this one, it should feel easy, right? Because we're relying on leverage. You shouldn't feel like you're using a ton of strength. If you feel like you're using a ton of strength, that probably means you're not doing the technique right.
Okay.
So it should feel like it just kind of pops out of there.
Okay, so you're pulling me, and I just...
That's it. Just, you're leaning with your elbow, and it's like you want to comb your hair. Yep.
Right, good.
Yeah.
Can't touch this.
That's the wrist release. That's base, push, pull battle, wrist releases from there. Now if that's if I'm holding you this way, right? Once I start going here, right now that opening is on the other end. So now that trying to come up this way is not gonna work because I'm strong there. Right now we wanna go out this way. So if we grab thumb down,
This way?
yeah. If we grab them down, right, if I try to pull this way, it's not the same. Your fingers are strong there. So I want to go up and over.
Like throwing an elbow, kind of?
Yeah, it's kind of like a Muay Thai elbow.
Okay.
So again, I make my fist, I'm going to lead with my elbow, it comes up, and over your wrist, across my hips. And I want to use my hips, right, to power up that release. Lead with my elbow, but then see how my hips come this way? Then I'm going to twist the hips across. With that one, right, you could go, boom, come back with an elbow. You could also come up here and come back with this, with an open palm strike, and then book it.
Okay. Let's do the hold up close real quick, just so we can see. Alright, so I'm holding. I'm holding here. Like
so
this.
once that thumb is down, right, I can't do the same one we were doing because now your fingers are strong there. And that opening is not in the same place. So now I want to go up, over, and across.
Okay, one more time.
So lead with my elbow, comes up, and I'm going to go over your wrist. As I do that, you can see that it starts to slip. Once I come all the way through across to my opposite hip, that's the finishing touch for that.
Okay, let's try to do it one more time in real time.
So we're here.
Ooh, you can even hear that.
Yeah.
One more.
And with that one, right, we can come back with the elbow. Boom.
Excellent.
I would have hit you.
I would have been out like a light.
Cool. So that's the wrist release. So let's give that one a shot. So now I'm grabbing you this, and we see this a lot more like in domestic, domestic situations where like now it's like more like of a power thing, right? Like a lot like a parent would grab a child, right? Vámonos. Like we're getting out of here.
Yeah.
You see this more. I think this is more likely to happen in like a abduction situation where you're trying to pull someone this way, right? This feels more like a kind of like a domestic type situation. So anyway, right there.
So I have to like
Yep,
that, right?
yeah, and then get it-
and just follow through,
Follow
right?
through to the opposite.
Okay, so you're pulling me,
Mhm.
and then I,
Yeah.
and then
This way. Yeah.
go.
Or you could also come back with the elbow. Pulling.
And okay, go ahead. And
Yeah. That's the wrist release with the thumb down pull. Yeah. So that's that for the push pull battle wrist releases. With these, you just want to like drill them, right? Drill them so much that they become just kind of like an automatic reaction. When someone grabs your wrist, you're back. You're already reacting without having to think about it. I mean, with all of when we talk about self-defense, that's the case, right? You want to practice in a way that it's muscle memory. It's an automatic reaction. You're not having to think about what am I going to do, because our bodies freeze in those situations. So my body's already reacting.
okay,
Cool.
all right. Thank you, Coach. So there you have it. These are some self-defense techniques, and if Coach Claudia could just go over what they were technically real quick for us, so that maybe if we want to look up some more videos on YouTube or do our own research, just to add more to the tools that we have. Coach?
Yeah, for sure. So these are derived from the Gracie Combatives. So if you're interested in looking at some of these online, YouTube has a lot of videos up. You can look up Gracie Combatives. You can look up base battle, push pull battle, wrist releases. If you attach Gracie to any of those, you should get some videos that will look very similar to what we did today.
Cool. So thank you everybody for watching. Remember, we are our first line of defense. I looked up some stats right after this abduction attempt happened to me, and in Los Angeles, it is like 9,000 missing people per year, which is so much more than any other county. So remember, stay safe, stay alert, look out for each other, and keep sharpening those tools. And until next time, I am Zipaktli, the illAgator from the three-headed puma, and this is
Coach Claudia.
yes, Yahweh.